Oh, hello. Today we are wrapping up my reading for the month of June. This is coming out later than I'd hoped because I was traveling at the end of June, beginning of July, and it took it out of me in a way that travel hasn't since I rebalanced all my meds. So just, autoimmune disease keeping me humble. Anytime I think I got it figured out, she's like, girl, no. So what I'm going to try to do is make this as low an editing attempt as possible so that I can get this out a little more quickly. So with that in mind, let's talk about what I read in June. A very solid reading month, but not necessarily very high or low. I did have 3 DNFs, so technically I logged 20 books as read in June, but 3 of those were DNFs. So 17 books completed, included some short stories, reading for different projects. Yeah, just here, there, and everywhere in terms of genre and what I was reading. Though you will see a couple of definite themes in these books. Let's start with maybe the arcs I read, because I think those are the only books I don't have in physical form. Yes, that's correct. Okay, so, okay. The Death Row Murder Club, is it, or just the Death Row Club? Okay, The Death Row Club by V.A. Vasquez and How to Kill a Crime Writer by Sarah Lotz. Both of these books, I read these back to back. They're both arcs. They're both, I believe, coming out in July, so no, I don't think they're available by the time you're watching this, but they will be available soon. They were both really good, but both of them didn't necessarily work for me as mysteries. So they're both mystery thriller type books. Death Row Club is sort of an isolation trope, kind of. I would say it's an almost isolated closed circle thriller. And then How to Kill a Crime Writer has sort of a weird element to it because the character from a book, the detective from a book, comes to life and is in the protagonist's house helping them investigate. So both of these are premises that really work for me, but neither of them I thought had very good mystery thriller plots in terms of their pacing and kind of what the ultimate reveals were. But I really enjoyed reading both of them just from the character, atmosphere, and writing perspective. So I thought Death Row Club, the premise is that it's this summer camp basically for children of serial killers. And I'd read The Secret Lives of Murderers' Wives. That I read earlier this year. It had a similar angle in the sense of we don't necessarily think about the impact of those kinds of crimes on the families of the people who do them. But of course that would be profoundly destabilizing and trust crushing and awful. Assuming that they were, even if they were involved inadvertently or something, I don't know. Anyway, it just, of course that would be terrible. And it was really a big exploration of grief and having to reconceptualize what you thought you knew about your family. I thought the characters were good. There was, a couple were a little flat, but in general, I liked the character work. There is kind of a romantic element to it, but I wouldn't say that's the main thrust. I don't know. I really liked the book, but the actual playing out of the thriller component was so-so. So I would say the thriller component was 3. The book was, other elements were 4, so that's why I would give that one a 3.5. And then similarly for How to Kill a Crime Writer, I would say that I liked the character. Her mother was the titular crime writer. She died under maybe kind of mysterious-ish circumstances, but it's been written off as an accident. Her daughter is now living in her cottage, also with her brother. And one day her mom's detective shows up, and it's a lot about grief. It's a lot about exploring a relationship with a parent that's complicated, and our main character has anxiety, so it's also kind of dealing with the mental health aspect. So honestly, very similar themes in a lot of ways, and I had very similar feelings, which is the mystery itself only okay, 3 stars. As a whole, the book I would give 4 stars, so I would give it 3.5. So I recommend both of those, especially if you go into it maybe not expecting like a revolutionary plot component. If you jibe with the writing and you know, you can get into the character and theme elements of it, I would definitely recommend both of them. I enjoyed my time with them, even if they weren't my favorite mystery thriller plots. So both of those were really good. And then actually my favorite thing I read for the month was Maggie and Arthur's Magical Moment by, I think, Leslie Renee. This is a speculative romance, and it just, I'm going to tell you what my critiques of it are, but I don't care because this is just the kind of romance that I've been wanting to read. And it does reinforce some of the things I'm going to say. Oh, I guess I already said last month, and I'll say a little bit again, about contemporary romance and some of the problems that I'm having finding things I love in contemporary romance these days. So the setup of this is it's a magical world. Both of our main characters are professors at a magical university, and both of them go to this Beltane festival, but it's a masquerade, and there's like enchantment magic on it. They have a very steamy encounter, not like fully, but you know, leading there, but they don't know who each other is, and then the heroine is like, I can't get involved with someone right now, so she won't share identities so that they can keep in contact. But both of them are like thinking about this moment and are like really looking for this person. Cut to, they don't know that they're colleagues, but he messes something up. They end up having to share an office. He realizes pretty quickly she's that person, but she hasn't remembered. And then like things ensue from there. It's a Grump Sunshine kind of, a little bit like, or maybe like rivals to lovers, maybe, at least on her part. Anyway, it's a little bit of a slow burn. And I do, if I'm going to be objective about this, I think the proportions of the plot are not the best, because it's, I'd say 60% them trying to like not knowing, both being on the same page, 20% them being together, and then we get our big miscommunication moment. And I just think that proportion wise, it just left the happily ever after not feeling fully supported in terms of just the amount of time we're spending with them in kind of these different phases. But I don't care, because I really liked both the characters. There's a lot of layers. Like, I think the reason the proportions are off is because she wanted to give the characters a lot of like layered motivations about what's going on, and I think she did a good job of that. I like them. I liked the writing style. You know, it's steamy, but yeah, I thought those scenes were good. I believed in their chemistry. Yeah, I don't know. This is just like the kind of romance I want to read, and it makes me reflect on like the contemporary romances that are not working for me as much. This is what I like. So like they have ye magical phones, they have ye magical cars. It's like the trappings of our world, but because it is not our world, I can just suspend my disbelief so much easier. So this kind of like this version of speculative romance is like what I'm actually, I think, wanting when I'm craving a contemporary these days. And I should just kind of take that on board and internalize that a little bit, because yeah, I think I want contemporary romances to be something different than what the major trends are right now. And I should just stop fighting it. So there you go. Anyway, favorite thing I read this month, I give it like a 4.5. One of my favorite things I've read this year. I mean, I have, like I said, objectively, I have some critiques, but in terms of my taste and what I like in romance, this just was what I was in the mood for. So yeah, those are the ebooks. And then we can talk about physical books. I will say half of these I either have talked about or will be talking about in a different video, so I'm not going to get into them too much. You saw my thoughts on these in my short story vlog. This, I would say, was my favorite thing I read for it, Fit for the Gods. I thought this was like a really good collection. I would really, really recommend it. I also enjoyed this. This is a good, like, speculative short story collection. Both of these were really good, but yeah, you can see my full thoughts in that video. You will be seeing my thoughts about Belly of the Beast, The Politics of Anti-Fatness as Anti-Blackness by Deshaun L. Harrison, Venko by Sherry Dimeline, and First Sister by Lyndon A. Lewis. You will be seeing this in a video that I have filmed and just need to edit, so this should be going up pretty soon. I have, can you guess the theme of the other project I'm going on right now? You will see The Tokyo Zodiac Murders Out by Natsuyo Kirino, The No Mask Murders, and The Master Key in an upcoming video. If you could not tell what the common denominator here is I'm having, I think I'm calling it Japanese Mystery June-July. Japanese June-July. I've been reading a lot of Japanese mystery, thriller, horror, all that stuff. And you'll see my thoughts on all these. I will say, I guess as a preview, so far, this is definitely my favorite. So, more to come here. Okay, now let's talk about these other 7 things that are in physical form and are not in a different video. Is that right? That makes 15, 3. I feel like I'm missing 2 books. Let's see if we can figure out what the math here is. Oh, that's right. We used to live here. That's the other one that I have in physical form, but I cannot be arsed to go find where I put it. That makes 8, so that's one of them. And then I have no idea. Somewhere my math is off. I am confusion, but okay. We used to live here. I don't have that here with me, so let me talk about that one real quick. That is a horror novel. I read that at the very beginning of the month, so honestly, I'm not really remembering a ton about it at this point, but it is a haunted house story, and it's a couple who has moved in, and when they get there, somebody shows up, like a family shows up and says, hey, we used to live here, can we see the house? And then they like refuse to leave. The kind of central tension of the book is like, is this real or not? Like, is she going crazy? Like, what's going on, basically, our protagonist. And I really liked the writing, but I did not like the plot really at all. So I'd give it like a 3 or 3.5. I'm also like struggling to remember the details. Like I remember the reveal, which I guess was fine, but not necessarily that innovative. I don't know. People really liked this one, and I have to say I'm a little not totally sure why. Like I did like the writing. Maybe that's what's standing out to people, but I didn't think the plot was particularly great. I thought it was too long. Yeah, I don't know. People love it, and I thought it was fine, but not amazing. So for whatever that's worth, I think it's getting an adaptation maybe. Or maybe it already has. I could see it being actually really good as a movie. Yeah. Actually, now that I'm saying I said that and that triggered in my mind that I did remember thinking like, I think this would work better as a movie than it does as a book, because I think the plot is the kind of plot that works better with visualization than it does in written form. So yeah, for whatever that's worth, I know that was a popular one, so I'm sure some of you guys will heartily disagree with me, and that is totally fine. I'm glad you liked it more than I did, but yeah. That was my 2 cents on that one. And you know what? In the spirit of on another unpopular opinion, Theo of the Golden by Alan Levi. For some reason, I almost said Levi Levy. Who knows? Okay. Mom Like Woe gave this to me because she loved this. She has bought this for multiple people, and they are all loving it. I DNF'd this. This was going to be the centerpiece of a vlog that I was working on that I'm no longer doing because it started off so badly that I was like, the energy of this vlog just feels cursed, so I'm not going to continue. But I think some of this is a me thing. in terms of my life experience and the kinds of books that I read when I was an evangelical fundamentalist. This reminds me so much of the Christian fiction that I read a lot of, and not in the ways that like worked for me. So like, for example, At Home in Midford is an example of a cozy faith-based book that I should read it again to see if it truly holds up, but in my memory holds up. And honestly, that's kind of what I wondered if this would be, because my mom also loves At Home in Midford. I really love that book. I thought it was very like it's like very cozy communal vibes. Yeah, I don't know. That I could still get on board with. That's what I thought this was going to be. This, in fact, though, reads to me like almost like that, the very specific poll. Did anybody else read Max Lucado's You Are Special, like the children's book? It reads like a parable. And therefore, none of the, like the writing, I think is not very good. But then also, none of the characters feel like real people. They all feel like cardboard cutouts. Dude comes to this town. He's like buying these different portraits that a local artist did and reuniting them with the subject matter of the portrait and like hearing their stories. And it's just, it makes no, like immediately he meets somebody who confesses to him that they had an abortion against their will that still haunts them upon meeting him. And I'm like, okay. This is supposed to be set in Georgia. Like, I just don't believe that that's happening. Not that people are certainly having abortions. In fact, the national abortion rate has gone up since the fall of Roe v. Wade. There you go. But the fact that like in a southern small town, you're just confessing that to somebody when you first meet them, absolutely not. I just don't believe that that happened. And then almost in the next scene, he goes into a local business where he says something about God, and the small business owner scoffs and mocks him for believing in God. Again, in a small southern town, this is not happening. Like, it just is not. But for the purposes of this parable, it needs to happen. So that's when I bailed. I was like, okay, the writing of this is not good. Every other page, I'm just like, that wouldn't happen. That makes no sense. Like, I don't get this one. If you want small town, cozy, Christian, communal vibes, at least from my memory, what I would recommend to you instead is At Home in Midford. So I know this is wild, like been a breakout hit because it was self-pubbed originally, which you can tell. I don't get this one. Or at least it's not for me. Maybe if I had read less Christian fiction at some point, or if I was not from the American South, I would be more into it, but it's just like, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Let's save my little run of Detective Kendaichi murders for last. I read a little nonfiction, Design as Storytelling. I'm trying to learn a little bit about graphic design for one of the projects that I'm working on, and we'll see how I do. I would say I'm in the realm of graphic design as my passion, not actually being good at graphic design. So we'll see how I do, but I'm at least like learning about it in hopes of being able to execute something vaguely good looking. The other contemporary romance that I read this month, because, you know, happy Pride, is The Fiancé Farce by Alexandria Bellefleur. This was really cute. We have basically I have to get married for inheritance plot, like fake dating trope, which I love. I love both of those as contrivances in contemporary romance. So this actually worked better for me as a contemporary romance than ones that go for a little bit more realism, because the intrinsic plot is so wacky that like there is some level of like suspension of disbelief that the author is asking you to engage in. So this actually worked for me as a contemporary a lot better than some of the others I've read recently. My problem is this is too long. And this is the problem with these like mainstream paperback, like they're just too long. I just don't think that romances should be this long unless you're Mariana Zapata, basically. Because there was just a lot of fluff in the middle, which there wasn't enough external conflict, I think, to support the book being this long. When it's just a lot of like feelings, it's hard for me to get on board with books of this length. But I did think this was very cute. I've read from Alexandria Bellfleur together. She's a very good writer. I believe these two as a couple. They were very cute. And yeah, I mean, I would recommend. This was good. It just is not... I think I would give this like a 3.5 or a 4, somewhere in there. Yeah, it's just not exactly to what I'm looking for in contemporary. Insert multiple conversations I've had with you guys about this at this point, so I won't do it again. Okay, This Way Up by Mark Cooper Jones and Jay Foreman. I'm gonna say, sadly, I think that this is my biggest disappointment of the year, because I was expecting to love this because I love this channel on YouTube. The problem is, as a book, this is basically their scripts in a book form. New topics. These are not the same. So if you have not seen the Map Men, if you are a big fan of Map Men, these are new, basically a collection of new Map Men videos in written form. And in written form, they're just, I don't think, as fun. Like, I think a lot of what the snarkiness of the tone, like the way it's delivered by them on video, is a lot of how, for me, I enjoy it. So seeing their humor in written form just eventually felt a little like grinding, like it was a little too repetitive. Whereas in the videos, they're like breaking it up with lots of fun like bits. Even their I mean, this is like the cliche of like, you gotta listen to the ads because they actually do really fun things with you. Their ads are just like these very funny little skits. So you don't have like the breakup of the skits. I don't know. I'm not mad I got it because I love them and I want them to thrive. And if you, maybe the way to enjoy this, because I did kind of read this, not in one sitting, but pretty close together. I would say the way to probably best enjoy this is to break it up over time so that the tone, the sameness of the tone doesn't hit you the same way it did me. But yeah, I love them. And there's some interesting stuff in here for sure. Oh God, what was the one that I thought was particularly of interest? Oh, yeah. The one that made up the mountains, I thought that was really interesting. They do have a bit in here about the fake places that map makers put on their maps to be able to guard against copyright. Oh, what was that other one? Oh, yeah, and then they had a good, I always love reading about the Donner Party. They had a good, interesting take on the Donner Party story, actually. They dropped some bombs in there on me towards the end that I was like, oh, I hadn't heard that before. So yeah, interesting stuff in here. I would just say if you like them and you want to read this, maybe break it up a little bit more. That was my downfall in terms of really loving it. Okay, and then last but not least, I am officially caught up with the translations of the Detective Kondaichi series from Seishi Yokomizo. Hurrah! My takeaway now, so I should say the ones I read were The Devil's Flute, The Little Sparrow Murders, and She Walks at Night. Now, if you saw my mid-year check-in, you will know that this is one of my favorites in the series, and this is my least favorite in the series. So, highs and lows this month. I'd say... I mean, I don't really, like, I think once you get this deep into a series, it's hard to say much about it. I guess what I'll say is just that I don't know that I need to keep up with these in physical form at this point, because I feel like I've kind of gotten what I want out of this series. I will say I also did enjoy doing a little mini binge of a series, reading these 3 back to back to back. I think what I really love about him is his evocation of place and complicated intergenerational family dynamics post-World War II among the now fallen rich. Because that's a lot of what I really enjoy about Agatha Christie. He does, I think, a Christie atmosphere and kind of character dynamic setup better than almost anyone else I've read. Like, this is maybe the closest to Christie for those two elements, which is so funny because it's Japan instead of the UK. But as I've mentioned, this entire series has made me realize how similar in some ways those societies were post-World War II, at least for their elite class. Kind of like the fall of empire, all that stuff. So he does that so well, and I just enjoy spending time in the books even when I don't like the mystery plots. One thing I'm realizing between this and then the Japanese murder mystery project I'm doing, there are things that seem to be common in Japanese mystery novels that, at least of this era, but honestly up through the 90s, that I don't love. And I think when I read them as one-offs slash before I now am starting to develop like a body of literature to compare against each other, like I'm developing more of a perspective on this tradition of mystery in general, the same way that I have a perspective on an American and a British mystery tradition. There are definitely things in Japanese mysteries that I don't love, and reading them back to back to back makes it clearer and makes me have less patience for that. But like, and that is included in these. Like, these definitely have some of those ticks. And I'll just tell you, the two things are the misogyny, which is a specific flavor of misogyny, and the incest. I don't know what's going on, but there is a lot of I don't know why I'm whispering. It's like the algorithm can't hear me if I whisper. There's a lot of incest going on in these books, and not in a like, oh, but like in a like, oh yeah, that's a thing. So, you know, I'm calling out to people who know this culture and the history of this culture more than I do. Like, is this just a mystery novel convention, or is this a social, like, I don't know what's going on. But these books do have some of those things in them, and that diminishes my enjoyment when they become so overwhelming. Like in this one, I was really enjoying it, except for the misogyny component that just became so overwhelming to the plot that I was like, oh God, this is annoying. I'm just like not into this. But when it's balanced out, and maybe when I'm not reading them back to back to back, it's a little more diluted and therefore like not as much of a buzzkill for me. But yeah, I'm rambling at this point. I did enjoy this. I would give this series as a whole a 3.5, but I really recommend trying them. I would say my favorite, I like it when he does shorter stuff in general. So I really liked the novella, The Murder at the Black Cat Cafe. I thought that was really good. That could be a place to start. The classic is the Hunjin Murders. That's like a short novel slash novella. That would be a good one. And then I'd say my third is probably The Little Sparrow Murders. It's a longer one, so that would be a good gauge to see if you like him in a longer book. But yeah, these are definitely worth checking out. I think I'm probably good for now. This will probably become a library read for me now. And yeah, I'm glad to have read them, and also glad to be able to say I'm caught up and check that off my series to-do list. So I think that's it. I should probably stop here because I'm trying to not have to edit too much, and the longer I talk, the chances of me being able to edit only a little go down. So let me know what you thought about any of the books I talked about. Let me know how your reading went in June. Yeah, I hope you're well. I hope you're taking care of yourself and your family and your community. And I will just talk to you soon. Bye.